Hey there, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Talking to Myself, the part of the day where I talk to myself about things that I was thinking the night before. Shout out, of course, to all 735 or 37 subscribers at the time of making this video. I truly do appreciate it. As well as shout out to Saratoga Peanut Butter, of course. Shout out to Lotus Flame Candle Company. Shout out to the Los Angeles Dodgers, Los Angeles Lakers off season. And shout out to Chris Middleton, who, whether everyone likes it or not, is the best player probably on the Bucks all-around game. And so shout out to Chris Middleton, as well as shout out to a couple people that had modeled for me this week. I got to take some photos on the X Pro 3 35 1.4, which was butter, and also with the 51.2. Again, fantastic, just cameras to work with, fantastic lenses to work with. It's just all around something good. Moving even into shout out to the homeboys Dorian Coleman, get well soon. Shout out to my boy Lee, shout out to young Ansel. Just some things to talk about. I upset some people who listed out a million different lenses and stuff like that when it came to the Nikon, this new camera that's coming out, this FCR or FRC or NFC or NCF, whatever it is. I totally forgot what it is because it's out of my mind because it seems like something that should have never been created. But shout out to Nikon for deciding it wants to take this. My boy Dorian Coleman brought up a great point. Their lenses don't match that body, which makes it super duper weird because you're gonna have these completely black, very utilitarian lenses and then now this retro body. Doesn't make sense whatsoever whenever you combine them. If you look at the record of sales from the last time they did this, because they released a full frame retro body called the Nikon DF, it did not sell well because no one was willing to purchase that camera and its novelty over the fact that its internals are exactly the same as another camera. This camera in particular is the exact same camera as a Nikon Z50. If I were you personally, because this camera will be around $999, I would wait for the Nikon Z50 to go for sale, which it probably will when this comes up. People are probably putting it on sale because it's the exact same camera. There's nothing special about it, nothing better except for the exterior and the aesthetic. If you want an aesthetic camera, aesthetically pleasing camera, I would go with Fujifilm for the simple fact that at least they have a better lens lineup whenever it comes to their mirrorless cameras. You don't have to adapt anything. You have native lenses. You don't have to have a huge, adapter. I think that's way better. Speaking of Fujifilm lenses, my X-T3 is going to be coming here soon. I didn't know it was shipped from overseas. That's probably why I got it for $640 with a cage, an 18-55, and a 35 XC f2. So that's a great deal for me, as well as 3 batteries, a dummy battery, and some other accessories with it. So I hit the jackpot with that. But that camera is going to be used for some video work that I have with some things coming up in regards to bull riding. I have an opportunity to meet with some guys, Brandon Stewart, a Dennis Davis, a JB Mooney, as well as a kid named Ezekiel from Houston, or Zeke from Houston, who is big in bull riding right now in the PBR circuit. I'll have an opportunity to record these guys, have documentaries of them, interview them, and be able to put something hopefully on a television network called the Cowboy Channel. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for some merchandise from a company I'm working with called the Bull Men Merch. That's THEBULLMEN.com. Actually, thebullmen.com is where you need to go. They got some great merchandise right now. I'm working on rehauling everything, including their website. But the gear's nice, and honestly, I can't wait to get my hand on some of it. Just because if you grew up in a country town or anything like that, or if that's your deal, they're very forward thinking. They started the pandemic and now they're starting to come around, and so they understand that getting hype beasts to jump on some of their clothing is a good deal. So the bullmen.com is one of the companies I'm working with. And speaking on that, I've actually been shooting for them, getting some models in here and changing up the look of the website and how things are modeled. So I've put up some photos of everything. This is a young lady named Daphne. She was fantastic. And basically, it's a cowboy feel, cowboy vibe, but they understand there's more than just cowboys in the world. And they want to, with the help of his wife, start pushing towards that as well, start pushing towards younger people. They noticed that it was just older folk who were buying some of their gear, so they're trying to really branch out and push in more. The pandemic halted what they're doing, and so that's a look at that. But the biggest thing that I want to take away from this is the X Pro 3 just performs. I have people ask me all the time, oh, are you gonna go to the X Pro 4, are you gonna go to the XH2, are you gonna upgrade? And the simple truth is I won't upgrade for photos for a long time. And that's because the X Pro 3 just works. It just does what it's supposed to do. Every photo that I'm taking is without the LCD screen. It's straight to the viewfinder. I'm taking these photos, I'm talking to whoever's modeling, and I'm just going through them and continuing. you know, that coupled with the fact that I made my own Portrait 160 preset, which I actually am using. These are straight out of camera JPEGs. This is what they want, is this look. And so I'm actually using a straight out of camera JPEG instead of the RAWs, and sending these out to clients and everything. I'm sending these out in this Portrait 160 that I use instead of classic chrome, the Astia, whatever it is, the film simulation. That's what's been really drawing people's eyes. They've been really impressed with that. And also I've been using a sort of a Fujifilm Superia, a classic neg, using that classic neg all the time, and people are just falling in love with it. I just gotta tell you, man, use these film simulations to your advantage. It gives you a different look. It also can speed up your workflow, especially when you're shooting it in the JPEG and you're showing it to someone at that site. They're like, that's the look I want. You know exactly what to go into and add on in your RAWs later. I don't add grain anymore into my film simulations, my film recipes on my Fujifilm camera. I don't add grain. Reason being is because if I want to add grain, it's actually better to add it in post. On top of your JPEG or on top of your RAW, in Lightroom or in Capture One. You're able to manipulate that grain a little bit better from what I've been able to see, because you're adjusting your highlights to where you're actually able to blow the highlights of the grain out. For those of you that don't know, have never shot film, you don't really have grain in your blown out highlight parts, but one of the things the Fujifilm camera does is it puts it everywhere, including in the highlights. So that's one way to make it look more natural. Again, I don't recommend the film look whatsoever. I don't. It's just the color balance and the look of it, especially with a black Pro Mist filter, it really brings it out. But for those of you that know, I said it last week, fuck film completely. I'm completely done with that whole culture and everything like that. I still shoot film, but I don't even want to call it film. It's just photography. There's nothing special about 35mm, about 120, other than the sizes you're getting. It's just a longer workflow, honestly. And to be 100% with you, if people tell you, well, it makes you slow down, it makes you a better photographer, just learn to slow down with your digital camera. There's nothing special about a film shot versus your digital shot. You may think, wow, look at the grain, look at the way it captures highlights, because that is true. Film is more dynamic in the highlights, but at the same time, if you know how to expose and you know how to handle lighting, and that's one thing that I tell people all the time, especially with the fact that, you know, I put a post on Instagram, you know, you guys are mad about 8-bit and you want 10-bit and 12-bit in every single camera for your video work, but y'all still don't know how to light for log. That's the exact same thing. Is you want all these things from film and everything, and it's not making up for the fact that you're having boring shots or you're not able to get the correct shots. Listen, the things that I'm shooting right now, they're in studio, okay? There's nothing great about it. Until I get to these shoots where I'm having merchandise on a bull rider and I've got to move around and get stuff there, or a girl who's barrel racing, that's different. But when it's in a studio environment, like I'm able to get these people in here right now, there's nothing special about what I'm doing. And to be honest with you, with film, I notice there's nothing special about the shot whatsoever. There's nothing special about what anyone's doing. The only thing that film has to offer is it has that nostalgic feel of not being able to develop immediately. That's what I have with my X Pro 3. I don't look at these shots right away. I wait until I get home and I don't open them up. I have an iPad, and if I need to, I'll go ahead and I'll put my SD card in that iPad, transfer it over to a hard drive, and I've got that together. But even then, I hardly do it. I like to wait till I get home and process them there. You know, I just look at the JPEGs, maybe little touch-ups, but the thing is, and I just want everyone to just hear this, listen, if you've been buying into the whole film's the thing and I want to shoot film because it's going to make you a better photographer and things like this, it's not. Film will not make you a better photographer. Learning the rules of exposure will make you a better photographer. Learning weight in your shots will make you a better photographer. Learning borders and composition will make you a better photographer. Learning things like, you know, lighting, and especially lighting in females under chin, will make you a better photographer. Learning your menu on your camera will make you a better photographer. One thing that won't make you a better photographer is switching systems from APS-C to full frame, or from, you know, even from if you're switching down to Micro Four Thirds or APS-C. And the other thing that won't make you a better photographer is, you know, going to seminars with people to where you're not learning hands-on. It's not. You need to learn hands-on. Watch a YouTube video and go and take photos of these things. And even more than that, the last thing that will make you a better photographer is film photography. You will be the same shitty photographer or great photographer that you are in digital that you are with film. The only difference is right now with film photography, you can get away with a lot worse photos because people say, wow, it was shot on film. Look at the grain, look at the way it handles this and this. And you don't need that, dude. You need to shoot digital. I'm just here to tell you, you need to shoot digital. If you are a beginning photographer and you want, or let's say you shoot and you just want to get better and maybe you have film cameras only and you want to get your first digital camera, I'm telling you right now, do not get a mirrorless camera if you are set on, I want to get good at shooting and learning how exposure works, all these things. If that's what you want to do, buy yourself a DSLR, buy yourself a Canon 5D Classic or a 5D Mark II, buy yourself an OG Nikon body, you know, buy yourself a DSLR, buy yourself a Sony Alpha camera, one of their DSLR cameras. Do not get into mirrorless until you're comfortable with being able to see exactly what you're getting and work with that, because what you want to do is you want to start easing yourself into stuff. And I'm not telling you you have to do this. I don't care. I'm not a snob, dude. I'm trying to help you out. What I'm saying is you want to ease yourself into things. Once you figure out your exposure triangles and how that works, excuse me, the next thing that I would do, man, I would type in YouTube and look up Kyle McDougall and learn how he weights his photos and how he balances photos. Balance is a huge thing. If you shoot film, shoot black and white for a month, for 30 days, or shoot a couple rolls of black and white. If you shoot on Fujifilm, shoot in the Acros, you know, or make yourself a film recipe. I myself use HP Ilford 5 right now. I was using Tri-X, but I switched back to Ilford 5. I actually am going to be looking at making an Acros, a more accurate Acros version than what is in the camera. The reason being is because a lot of times we rely on color. And that's not a bad thing. Color is beautiful, color is meant to be there. But a lot of times we're relying too much on color to be able to tell our story when we should have our subjects tell our story. That's why it's so amazing shooting in black and white, because you learn really how to manipulate the contrast in photos, which comes in a lot more handy whenever you go back to color. There are times where I'll shoot black and white strictly for a few weeks, few months. If it's usually when I'm in West Texas or East New Mexico, I shoot a lot of black and white JPEG. The reason being is because there's not as much color in everything. And so that puts me in a mindset of how am I, you know, what's my composition like? How am I balancing the frame? What are my natural borders? What am I doing to make this shot pop? If I like it enough, I'll go throw it in post and I'll edit it there. So, you know, the X Pro 3 is just a fantastic camera. I'll get back to that. The X Pro 3 is just a fantastic camera. For those of you who are wondering, is this a camera should I buy? I'm telling you, if you're in the Fujifilm system, this is the camera to buy. If you're just into photography, whether it's professional or not, I use it professionally. Maybe you just want to use it as just recreationally. I'm using professionally because I got a great deal on it. I got it for about $1,200. But you know, maybe you just want to use it for recreation. It's great for that too. It's not just a street photographer's camera. It's a professional photographer's camera. And the biggest thing is not having that rear OCD screen. The biggest thing is having that viewfinder. I mean, I love that today, not having to, you know, using that viewfinder, and I'm shooting in a dark area, you know, yesterday, shooting with not so much light, and being able to use that optical viewfinder to get my subject. It still has, you know, from what I can tell, eye autofocus, never you're in that, still able to latch onto it. And I'm able to get what I need to get. And then, you know, and especially when working on shooting, you know, with my manual lenses, put on that viewfinder and then put in the bottom right hand corner, they have another viewfinder that punches in and you're able to actually focus and dot in on the eye. It's amazing, it's great. You know, Fujifilm for the win right now. I'm just so in love with the X Pro 3. I can never see myself switching to another system. I've already tried to go back to full frame and you just realize it doesn't have that much to offer compared to this. The X-Trans sensor and what it does with the greens and blues to be able to give it more of a film-like with a little bit of editing, as well as what it does with light and grain, to where grain in the X-Trans sensor just looks better. If you're in low light, it does. It's not as distracting. It doesn't have the different colors and issues with that. I mean, it's a great camera. The body's fantastic. It holds up. I shot maybe about 200 shots yesterday and I didn't lose a bar, shooting JPEG and RAW. Don't worry about battery life and things like that. Don't have people tell you to be a professional, you need a battery grip, you need this, that, and the other. If there are any of you who have actually ran out of battery during a wedding before you had a battery grip and missed a key shot, let me know. I've never done it. I've never done it during a shoot. I've never done it even during shooting videos. I'm just very aware of where my battery's at, and I'm not afraid to say, hey, we got to stop to switch something out. And I know where to pick and pull my punches. So, you know, that's just me. I recommend the X Pro 3 100%. I shoot video on the X Pro 3 still to this day. I take all of my photos using the X Pro 3 to this day. My only camera right now, this moment to the X-T3 comes in, is my X Pro 3. And that is intentional because this thing does more than anything I need it to do. Pair it with a 35 1.4 and the 28 or the 18 f2, you've got more than enough to handle everything you need to do. And if you want to get yourself a zoom lens, that 16 to 55 is so great and versatile on this body. But I'm not trying to sell this to you because I don't have any affiliate links. I just want people to know, man, the X Pro 3's been kicking ass, especially with this business stuff. And that's what's exciting, is having a camera that you like the look, the feel, and the use of, and it fucking performs, man. You can't do more than that. So shout out to all of you. If you're a Fujifilm user, you know, it doesn't matter if it's the X-H1, if it's the X-T20, X-T4 or 3, or the whatever, the X Pro 3, the X Pro 1. Shout out to you guys, man, because you guys understand what I'm talking about. And just in that Fuji community, we're good. Shout out to my Leica users, man, like my boy Lee. I don't have anything against you. You know, especially those of you that are just honest with what you're getting. My boy Lee DeLeon, he gets some amazing shots, man, on his Leica. Every time it makes me think, man, if I can ever see a Leica Q for $1,800, I would definitely jump on that for the 28mm focal length. They're great lenses, man. It's great lenses. The bodies I feel like are overpriced, but overall, what you're really buying in when you're buying into a system is always the good lenses. Great glass, cheap bodies will always make you into the photographer you're not. So that's it, man. I just want to give a recap and stuff. I still have the setup, so I just want to give a talk. And shout out to you guys for watching. Have a good one.